Fallacy. Fallacy. You can use like op.gg in order to spectate off of him. Doesn't really matter though, you can spectate off me if you want.
I'll spectate off of you.
Okay. Anyways, so picks are relatively similar to before. There is a Lux mid, a Janna support, a Warwick jungle, a Caitlyn AD carry this time because we did swap that around, and then a Nasus top. That's going to be facing into a new Victor mid. I'm so excited. A Nidalee top, seeing as they banned her precious Riven. Sorry, her name is Riven Hentai. She picked Riven last game, and then her team captain this time, because we had to reset it, banned out Riven. I was very upset about that. Anyways, then there's a Thresh support with a Vayne AD carry, and then a Shaco jungle again. Relatively similar issues to last time, but a little bit less pronounced because they do have the Thresh. Victor does quite heavily rely on having lockdown from his team. The Victor Shaco just bothers me, only because I played a lot of solo queue with Victor recently, and trying to play him with a 0cc jungler like a Shaco, like a Yi, like any of the damage junglers, even Kha'Zix to a minor extent, is an exercise in frustration. You really need that hard engage so you can set up a fight, drop your combo on top of it, and then just run around laughing like a madman. Like it's so necessary. In this case, Thresh should be able to accomplish that to a minor extent, but it could be difficult for Victor still. Nidalee, a very strong top laner even since the nerfs. I don't see too much of an issue with that. I would actually say that Nidalee does a little better versus Nasus compared to Riven, only because you have that ranged harass just constantly chunking him down so that he can't lifesteal back up. You also have the sustain and the traps and the map control there. A little less burst though, so you might not snowball quite as heavily versus it if you do get the early lead. Same comments on Shaco where like strong if played well, but you really have to play it well and you have to transition to split pusher or assassinator in order to work. But to each his own. I'm excited to see a Shaco play. I do like the Vayne pick in this team only because of who their verse is. Vayne's going to be able to deal with Warwick as long as she's not the one being ulted or as long as she has a Quicksilver Sash. Vayne excels at single target dueling. And because they don't have the AoE team, the Vayne pick isn't necessarily a liability. She's going to be able to pick out whoever dives in and just duel that one person. She's going to be able to split push and duel one person, possibly. Not saying she will, but she could. So as much as I don't like Vayne in solo queue, in this team comp, it's not necessarily a bad thing for her team. On the split side, same compliments over to like the Warwick pick, where you show up, you get your carries fed. This time, though, it's not paired up with the highly snowbally champions such as Victor and Riven and that sort of thing. And instead with slightly slower scaling champions like Nasus, Caitlyn, Lux, who does some good spike damage, but not necessarily just running wild after one kill. So I'm excited to see how they play this. Janna is much more appropriate in this team comp, being on the same team as Lux, Caitlyn. So I'm overall, their teams are fine. I would give a slight advantage over to blue team just because I really think Warwick is a very strong pick right now, and especially combining it with something that can poke and siege like the Caitlyn can, like the Lux can, is probably a strong pairing. Anyways, I'm going to switch it over to Guy here, get his basic comments, and he should be able to start spectating off of me in the next moment.
Why, thank you very much. I was just actually looking at the team comps off of your stream right now because I was able to get a good grasp of what was going on. And actually, I thought it was a bit funny that you commented on the Vayne being a pretty good pick. I do agree that she's going to be able to peel herself for divers like Nasus and Warwick. However, she is going to be facing a Caitlyn in lane, and that's a traditionally disadvantaged matchup for Vayne. So also because of the disengage and shielding power from Janna, I'm not sure if Thresh is going to be necessarily able to, get those good hooks and dives to allow Vayne to really get a kill. It's really going to be kind of a skill matchup between the two supports in this case, because otherwise Vayne is going to be heavily denied by Caitlyn. So I would also agree that I'm going to give the advantage over to the blue team because they seem to have an overall safer, less aggressive strategy. Whereas if they can just sit back and farm their way into the late game, they're still going to be able to handle people like Vayne and Victor.
I would definitely agree. Apparently you are too quiet. I turned my sound down a little bit for my own voice, but if you can buff your own sound a little bit, that'd be
Oh,
awesome.
Jesus. Okay, give me a sec here.
And
Okay,
I just realized I said buff your voice. I'm sorry, guys. I've been playing too much League today.
I can totally buff my voice. Hey, maybe your voice needs a nerf, who knows?
My voice is pretty OP.
Okay, so I've put the gain all the way up on my mic right now, so if that does not do it, I think that you might need to adjust my volume through Skype.
Okay. I turned
Or
my own
yeah,
voice down a little bit. I'm gonna see if you're at max volume on Skype.
seriously? That's really weird because I'm using a blue microphone Yeti. There's no reason for that to.
Yours sounds so much better than it used to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm using an awesome microphone. That's why.
Yeah, like no offense, but your mic used to be terrible.
It really did. No, no, no. That no offense taken. Jesus. Um. Okay. Let me check if.
Like this is dumb, but I don't see a volume option in Skype.
I was just about to say that myself. Can you give me a sec here?
Sure thing.
Thanks.
Yeah, I turned down my own volume a little bit. Hopefully it'll balance things out. Viewers will have to turn up their volume quite significantly though, and I do apologize for that. Let me know if I'm too quiet, too loud, or in comparison to him, and then you guys can adjust your volume from there. Shit, I just tried to click the shopkeeper and do my starting build.
Ooh, I should be spectating right now. I'll be right there.
Okay.
Um, is my sound okay now?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's because I'm seeing a lot of the viewers being like, they can't hear me.
I would also point out that one of the viewers just said, the shoutcaster sounds really cute.
I read that actually.
Oh, that is perfection.
Well, I mean, aren't I?
I refuse to comment.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Is someone gonna get jealous? Is that one?
Very, very. Pepper is going to be a very jealous cat.
Oh, you have a cat now, don't you?
I do, I have Pepper, yeah.
I too have a kitten,
Oh my.
and his name is Rengar.
That's amazing.
I know.
So, have you seen the new Victor at all?
Oh my gosh, yes, I actually faced him because I didn't get a chance to play Azir up until yesterday. And I faced him, and man, his burst damage went way up.
Oh my god, you cannot get me started on Victor because I will talk through the entire game, but yeah, it's so much fun. Like, almost every game I play is like triple kill, quadra kill.
Oh my gosh, just the changes on his upgraded laser is amazing.
The laser is a controversial decision because it makes his burst less guaranteed. Only because it used to be he had 30% guaranteed damage every time he landed his laser. Now it's
Jeez, are you
40%.
kidding? No, that thing is impossible to dodge. Like if you get hit by the laser, I've never seen a scenario in which you will dodge the second wave unless you flash out.
Oh no, you definitely can dodge it quite easily. It's more if you're already walking out of it, you won't get hit by the second wave. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's a slight damage buff in ideal circumstances, or as you're saying, where like they're not outplaying it. But overall, oh my god, does it ever do good damage?
Yeah. But the reliability of his Q auto attack combo is just so intense that I really think that it makes up for it.
And yeah, the auto attack Q combo is like 2-second cooldown late game.
That's actually terrifying. So is Lich Bane a must on him now?
It's not a must, but it's very, very strong. I've actually been not using it because it's so hard to fit into your build. You're having to replace your Athenes with a Lich Bane, or you're having to replace your boots with a Lich Bane. Because you're getting your guaranteed move speed, though, from your Q, you can get away with no boots. Because it's 30% move speed.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if I would risk that, though, just because Victor is such a low mobility champion to begin with.
Oh, watch some of my VODs from earlier today, because it's kind of hilarious, where I'm just like, ugh, I want my boots, but I want my Lich Bane. Late game, I just, like, sell my boots, get Lich Bane, and then I walked in and 1v4'd. Because that's just it, they dive onto you, you one-shot them with a Q auto attack, you're shielded, so you absorb some minor damage, you E-ult, oh, you killed 2 more. Like, it's just kind of crazy.
No, I kind of like that they did 2 reworks at the same time, and I'm really loving the Victor rework, because he's been a really fun character for me to play. I just really like his mechanics, but he was always, I don't know, frowned upon as a character.
Definitely. I mean, I had a lot of luck with him where I was doing well, and I really understood him as a champion and enjoyed playing him. But I had the complaint that even when you were super far ahead, you were always reliant on the enemy team to make a misplay in order to actually execute your combo. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
like
do a rapid topic shift though, because
Yes.
as I said, I'm gonna just talk about Victor all game.
Okay.
So I
Is there
want
anything
to
you want
critique
me-
mid.
Okay.
Because he started Laser on Victor. Laser takes a very large amount of mana, has a long cooldown, and does essentially the same damage as your Q, but it doesn't shield you. So I always put 1 point in my Q at level 1, so that I can Q auto attack combo early game in order to try and trade, and then as soon as you hit level 2, then you take your laser and start going sort of your wave clear zone control. But the actual level 1 laser, it's what here, like 100-ish damage. That's not enough to push out your lane opponent in one skill. So I would definitely suggest that he might want to consider taking Q at level 1, but it's not the end of the game, it's just minor comment.
Yeah, especially against a character like Lux, where she's able to reliably poke you, it might be a little safer to go that direction.
Now we are seeing pretty much what you expected with bot lane. Jenna Caitlyn is a very safe lane, and Caitlyn already does well versus Vayne. So in this situation, I would expect Caitlyn to be very far ahead in CS, and I would expect her to always be above Vayne and Thresh in terms of health. We see that to a minor extent right now. I would like to see it accentuated by maybe less wave clear, more zoning. Like at this point, Caitlyn's pushed all the way to tower by like level 2 or 3, whereas she could have just last hit it as slowly as possible, and every extra auto attack cooldown she had, every Q, every E, trap, whatever you want to use, you could be using that to push Vayne and Thresh out of lane.
What I find kind of funny here is that I'm not seeing Caitlyn use her range to harass Vayne more than she needs to, basically. She's just farming away very safely. I feel as though she could actually be a little more aggressive on the Vayne harass.
Exactly, and instead she's focusing on just constantly auto-attacking minions.
It's not too bad.
Now up
Overall,
in top lane...
she's not doing anything wrong.
I would disagree though. She is doing something wrong in that that's why you pick that. You pick Caitlyn to constantly poke people out of lane, and if you're picking it just because, oh, I can farm safely, why not go Jinx?
Oh, no, I totally agree with that. You want to pick Caitlyn for that early game advantage and really prevent Vayne from transitioning into that monster late game that she's known for. So you want to put as much early pressure in as possible and eventually win out the game purely by starving out Vayne that way.
Now, back in top lane, I just want to mark that Nidalee is actually not doing anything versus the Nasus. He's not used a single potion, he's full health, whereas Nidalee is like a third of her health missing and almost no mana left. Here we see her try and go in, and she just can't do anything. I want to see her abusing her auto attack a little bit more. I would point out though that as a Nidalee top, every time you're auto attack harassing, you want to then immediately jump into a bush to break minion aggro. Because if not, minions will leave out the trade, because let's face it, especially since the nerfs, Nidalee's auto attacks do almost no damage.
I haven't actually studied the Nidalee changes all that much because I'm not a Nidalee player myself, so I can't actually really comment on her power shift and how that affected her.
Basically, she's nerfed.
However, oh, okay. Well, I mean, traditionally as well, Nasus is kind of a wall to phase down in top lane. So against a kind of, you know, burst, harassed character like Nidalee, he would do quite well.
The most successful Nidalees I've seen have always just constantly auto attacks. You play them almost like an AD carry, where your skills are there for repositioning, buffs, and burst to finish off a kill, but there's almost no cooldowns of your auto attack where you're not using it to either push the lane or harass your opponent. That's where I've seen it being most effective, and that's just not what I'm seeing in this lane. But to summarize the basic changes they did to her, they gutted her AD ratios on her takedown, and it's enough of a nerf that even if you're building full AP, it does less damage simply because you're losing your base AD. Like, it's a huge nerf to the takedown ratio, because it was something like 3.0 AD or something on her Q. Like, it was ridiculous. And then they buffed the AP ratio on it. They nerfed her leap so that it's much longer cooldown, but it now scales with cooldown reduction. So it equals out at around 30% CDR. So it's essentially highly incentivizing you to go towards an AD build rather than just building on-hit brute for AD.
Okay, so essentially what Naraya tried to do here is eliminate top lane Nidalee.
Exactly.
Okay. So as you can see bot lane, you're gonna notice that Caitlyn and Vayne are almost on par for farm.
And that's not what you
So
want to see.
that is not what you want to see as Caitlyn or Janet whatsoever. That's actually a really bad position for them to be in because around level 6, that's when Vayne is going to start scaling. And that's like as soon as she starts scaling is the moment where it becomes irrelevant how much of a head start you get as Caitlyn because Vayne is going to get to that monster stage where she will outscale you regardless of how well you are doing.
And the counter to that, though, is team comps. Because my big complaint with Vayne right now is that her quote unquote hyperscaling is not significantly better than other hyperscaling champions like Ogma, Jinx, Tristana, all of the even Lucian. She definitely does do more damage than, let's say, a Lucian, for example. But Lucian is so safe at all stages of the game, regardless of team comp, that why pick Vayne over one of those other champions? Jinx being a prime example of a champion who's highly underplayed, who is incredibly, incredibly strong, and scales very well into the late game. Maybe you'll disagree with me on that, though, because I know you love Vayne.
No, I mean I do love Vayne, but I don't disagree with you because right now the contested pick is definitely Tristana just for her sheer ability to reposition within a team fight and the same hyperscaling power. Um, I mean against this team comp specifically, I feel that Vayne was actually a pretty good way to go because she deals well with Caitlyn. I'm sorry, not Caitlyn, with Warwick. She deals well with Nasus, and ooh, that might be it for good play by Thresh.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Doesn't matter, it didn't end up in a kill. This has been a really slow game. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of disconnections from Shaco, and that's why we keep seeing these pauses pop up. But I'm excited to see what happens once the junglers hit 6. And Warwick just did hit 6 now, so it looks like he's moving up towards top lane. I'm excited to see what happens here, because what you would expect to see is every single cooldown of Warwick's ult, it's a kill. There's no way around that.
I'd like to mention the fact that Shaco just hasn't put pressure on any of the lanes through this entire time, and I mean, Shaco is just such an extraordinarily early game jungler that I find it kind of a shame that he hasn't used that to his advantage. It feels like if you wanted to do that, why not pick someone like Vi or Warwick, someone more traditional that could... That wasn't... Oh, wow.
I don't know if you watched that, but he reversed his course completely when he was already at the edge of the tower.
Yeah.
He should have been able to live through that. At the very most, he would have auto-attacked a minion as he was walking out, and he would have lived.
Unfortunately, my camera roamed directly to bot as that happened, so I didn't get to see it myself. But I saw the kill.
He walked through, and I wanted to applaud his decision to chase in because Warwick chases so well and sustains so well in those chases. But he got the kill, was at the edge of the tower range, passed it, and then walked back into it. It's like, I just don't understand. Now, we're going to see the first major spike to Victor coming up with this buy. Only because he's at 1.8 thousand gold. He stayed all the way to level 8. I might not necessarily agree with the decision to stay, but the fact that he's completely dead even with Lux with no purchases is a good sign for him. At this point, yeah.
He is going for the Lich Bane.
I don't like that. He needs to go... Okay, no. My reason for that is he needed to get one augment. Augmenting your E allows you to one-shot the minion wave, meaning you can no longer be shut down. No matter what they do, you stand back, you E the wave, and you just picked up, 6 CS.
Yeah, and someone like Lars who can pretty much insta-clear a wave, you also want to be able to keep up with that farm. Not to mention the fact that she's going for the needlessly large rod, and she is 20 farm ahead. She's definitely winning out that lane right now, and that's not what Victor wants to do.
And while it's not a very large issue, I would point out that he shouldn't be down that much CS. Victor is actually a very good farmer, even in the early game. Even if he's mana hungry, his new auto attack is much, much better. I complain about it all the time simply because I'm used to the old one, but it is an undeniably better auto attack. It's more responsive, it's faster, it's just better. So yeah, I would have liked to see, just start thinking about how much gold he had. He had about 1870 if I remember correctly. So I would have purchased one augment, and then either going for Chalice if you want to farm out lane and just essentially outscale and out farm, or go towards a Blasting Wand if you want to go for kill potential. Blasting
That
Wand...
was... Sorry, I just like to bring attention up to what happened top lane. Shaco decided to duel Nasus for some reason, and it just it just ended very poorly for him. I don't know why Shaco didn't pay attention to... I mean, he's been having lag issues all game, so maybe that was responsible, but... It's weird that he, you know, Nasus was attacking the real Shaco all along when he was using his ultimate, and he did not change his strategy whatsoever.
I believe his reasoning for fighting was because Nasus had no mana, but it doesn't matter because you have no health.
Exactly.
What I
And
would like
Nasus
to
just
see
has-
there is if he did want to go for that fight, use your ult definitely, but you have the buffs on you, so you can obviously see which one is the real Shaco. At that point, send the clone after him, duel as much as you can, but do not go in his auto attack range. And at that point, he could have gotten him low, pushed him out of lane, and given a small advantage without having died. Unfortunately, we do see another disconnection, so I don't know what's going on with that. That's very unfortunate.
A summoner has reconnected.
This is unfortunate. I want to point out, it was a Frozen Heart start from Nasus.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that myself too, because I typically go Frozen Gauntlet, and he just synergizes so well with his Q that it's very strange that he decided to go Frozen Heart, especially against a character like Nidalee, who, although she gets the attack speed buff from her heal, does not require it to function as a character. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird build here.
There's nothing wrong with rushing CDR and just going for massive Q stacks, but I'm not convinced that Frozen Heart is necessarily the best way to do that. Like, I just don't know. I think you're better off going with, like, CDR Runes Masteries and then buying, like, a Kindle Gem and a Glacial Shroud.
No, actually, if you... Well, yes, Glacial Shroud is into Frozen Gauntlet is absolutely fantastic from Nasus, along with Spirit Visage, just because it gives him the sustain and the resistances and armor, and it gives him everything he wants, basically.
And Kindle Gem builds into that, so that would give him 20% flat CDR for very cheap cost. It would give him armor, mana, health, and of course all the CDR that he would want.
Yes.
Instead of building the Frozen Heart. In this case, though, he does pick up a Kindle Gem after the fact. It looks like he's rushing out Frozen Heart into...
Into Spirit Visage.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which means no damage items. That being said, he already killed... He already got the kill on the enemy jungler, so he has red buff. He's been able to sustain through this, so it's not really been an issue for him. I do want to take another peek down at bot lane, though, because we haven't really been able to say too much about it. Caitlyn is slightly ahead, but Vayne has a kill. Oh, I didn't even see that happen.
Yeah, no, Caitlyn is definitely not ahead, and very good engage and disengage on both sides here.
I would have liked to see the flash saved by Caitlyn, because Jenna was clearly moving into position to disengage, and she was at full health. There was no possibility of the opponents bursting her down in the next 1 second. She could have, and there was no CC left to stop her. So she could have simply walked away or waited on the Jenna ult if that's what she wanted to do.
No, bot lane has been played very passively up to this point. I mean, no sides have necessarily played it wrong. Vayne already has the Cutlass. Caitlyn got the BF Sword, which is exactly what she's supposed to do against a Vayne, just to get that poke going. You know, unless there's a drastic positioning mistake, like what might happen here.
Oh. I'm gonna pause this for a second, yeah.
Nasus are right here.
So I have a few complaints about this fight. If you don't mind, I'm actually going to go through them in slow-mo and just talk over what exactly happened, because this is weird. Okay, so first complaint...
Oh, wow, Nedley's here too. What?
Okay, so first mistake. Chaco's at half health with no boots. All he has is Spirit the Lizard Elder. He does not have his flash up, but he does have ult. And at the same time, Thresh is at half health as well with no exhaust. So at that point, I don't necessarily think that you should be ganking at half health like that. Second mistake is that Thresh throws the lantern. Chaco, instead of grabbing it, walks directly forward. Thresh then completely throws his hook in the wrong way. I would wait to see what Vayne does during that. And now we see Nidalee, sorry, not Nidalee, See, Nass is teleporting down. Jen is able to just re-engage with this fight. The ult is up on Warwick, who immediately goes on to Vayne. Caitlyn's here to clean up on this. For some reason, though, it looks like he uses his Wither on Thresh rather than onto Vayne, which is a little bit odd.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of chaos happening in that fight. I mean, after everything's gone down, Nidalee still manages to teleport down and narrowly escape with her life thanks to the Thresh shield. Yeah, no, things were going every direction for that fight. I will say, however, that what blue team did correctly is transition their advantage into a free dragon, which is exactly what they should have done. Had the, you know, the engage on their favor.
Definitely. That was just a very, very sloppy fight from a lot of members of Red Team, though. Or
Yes.
Purple Team. I don't like that ult from Lux.
I was just about to comment on it myself.
Trying to use your ult is fine on Lux. It's a low cooldown, whatever, just throw it out there. But he was not CC'd in any way, and the angle that she used it, well, his first instinct is going to be to run towards his tower, and you've aimed it in such a way that there's no way that that's then going to hit. Also, second complaint against Victor. What did he... he did augment E, never mind. It looked like he didn't have an augment, because he wasn't wave clearing very well. He may
Oh
just...
no, he definitely had it.
He wants to line these up just a little bit more. They should be going right through the middle of the wave, and it should clear the entire wave with one E.
Nidalee still seems to be going towards the Bruiser route. She has Sheen and she has Glacial Shroud.
That's what you expect from her.
Even after the rebalance, you think you'd be seeing more AP Nidalee?
AP Nidalee doesn't work top lane, though, so if you're going to run that, you go mid. Nidalee's job as a top laner is to split push, and that hasn't been changed. It's simply her finishing power that is nerfed. I would strongly expect to still see Nidalee going something along the lines of Iceborne Gauntlet, Blade of the Ruined King, and then like into full tank. Or she can still go for Trinity Force, but Iceborne Gauntlet might be slightly better now that the AD ratio is slightly worse.
Now, yeah, Warwick's caught out of position. However, is looking to be able to translate? Yes. Yes, she is.
Having Lux on your team, you can pretty much just engage anytime you want at that point. Because, well, Lux is there, she's going to be able to snipe. Oh, the flash Q not quite connecting.
That would have been a beautiful play by Lux, though.
I'm actually going to rewind that slightly, because I feel like she misplayed that.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
she missed a skill shot, but had she hit it, it would have been great. It would have been fantastic.
Yeah, the only reason I'm rewinding it is because this is something I point out in my stream very, very often. If you ever walk between tower and the wall, you've just lined up the skill shot for them. So Lux knowing where he's going to go, that skill shot should have been a very, very easy one to land. And that's something you should always be considering as a Victor or a Lux or anyone who uses linear skill shots like that. Because you definitely want to use their tower against them. It limits their options to where they can position to.
Absolutely.
Nice, so Nidalee does barely escape that top lane. In the meantime, bot lane taken very low.
Ooh,
Caitlyn flashes in,
could've-
autos.
Oh, she could have gotten one other attack.
She backed out a little too early, I definitely agree.
Especially with her range, she could have absolutely translated this to a kill. Ah, that's unfortunate. That was exactly what she needed. Well, they're going to be able to get the tower at the very least and push down the objectives, which is also something that Caitlyn excels at, so...
I'm not 100% sure if it's
necessarily
up
lost.
because I'm a bit bugged, but if their blue is up, this would be a great time to ward and take it. Placing the ward in the like 5-way path there is very, very strong for bot lane. Someone's suggesting Static Shiv on Nidalee top. I've never seen it done. I don't think it's good.
Well, he also just took a Frozen Heart instead of a Frozen Gauntlet, so that would be a little counterintuitive as well.
No, for Nidalee.
Disconnected.
That's what I meant. Because Nasa's got a Frozen Heart. It just seems like it'd be getting less of your items worth.
Yeah, because it is still AD.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Static Shiv would be a terrible item for Nidalee. I've not seen it built. I'm pretty sure Q on Nidalee can't crit, like in her Cougar form. And as a result, the crit chance from Static Shiv isn't going to be that Wait, you're not building any other crit chance. It's not like she builds Ghostblade or anything like that. Also, secondary comment, Nidalee seems to be throwing her Spiriters and then immediately Cougar form jumping back. That has not worked in like
That has not
15
worked
patches.
since her rework. Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, it was even before her rework they changed that. Someone in chat saying, did Lux get a buff? You see it in a lot of games these days. No, she doesn't, but the reason that Lux is getting more popular, at least in my opinion, is twofold. Number one, late game AD carries are a thing again. It's less about getting that like Lucian early game or the Ezreal or Corki or any of the AD casters that have been popular over the last year and a half at various points in time. And therefore, a Lux combo with her long-range snipe, her long-range CC, shields, that sort of thing, is very good at canceling out those late-game plays, or at least has the potential to. The same reason is why things like Xerath are popular. Long-range siege is valued from mages. If you're still going to run a mage, you need to be long-range. The exception to that, of course, being Orianna, because it's fucking Orianna and she'll always be broken.
And the zone control is so good.
Oh my god, every time someone's like, do you wish you could play another champion? It's like, I wish I could play Orianna, because that
I
shit's
love
free low.
Orianna. Oh my gosh, she's so much fun to play.
She is, but I'm terrible with her.
I'd like to continue on the point of why Lux became popular. The second point that you wanted to say probably was assassins?
Yes, she has no counters.
Exactly.
Yeah, no matter how much you try to counter her.
I wouldn't say that Lux is a counterless champion, it's just more so that her counters have been hit quite hard in recent patches, so she's not as unsafe as she used to be, because she doesn't get blown up instantly anymore.
Okay, so Warwick tries to go really deep there, but Caitlyn is now in position. Should be able to clean this up. I wanted to critique her though, because there is a blood scent over the real Shaco. That's how you know it's the real one. So she wasted about 3 auto attacks on the clone, rather than finishing off either Caitlyn or the real
I'm not sure
Shaco.
if NASA should do this. Oh, I don't like that, because the condemn could... Oh, never mind. I guess it worked out. I've been proven wrong.
That was very, very ballsy, I agree with you.
That was balls deep. Absolutely.
So Victor, yeah, I want to critique his build a second time, and I apologize if he feels like I'm picking on him, but I've been playing a shit ton of Victor recently. He's rushing Lichbane with no AP. So
even on... It's funny, because even on characters that traditionally rush Lichbane, I don't like it for that precise reasons. I mean, I'm a big Twisted Fate player and always have been, always loved him. And I feel as though building Void Staff is always paramount to building Lichbane in the first place, because Lichbane is going to get more efficient the more AP you have.
exactly.
So as the game goes on, the gold value of that item will only rise. So it's not necessarily fantastic to rush it as a first item, because that value would only get, you know, tenfold by the time that you actually want to buy it.
If you want to go for it, buy a Sheen. You don't need to finish the Lichbane without having enough AP. So Hourglass Rush, or Void Staff Rush, or Magic Pen Rush with like a Source Boots and a Haunting Guise, anything along those lines is going to give you a massive mid-game spike. The damage coming out from Lux there, oh my goodness. Just one-shotting Victor. And unfortunately...
Death Cap. Yeah.
Yeah, she has her Death Cap finish. That's going to go very heavily in her favor. I'd actually be surprised to not see her build a Soul Stealer at this point. Because once you have enough AP, once you have enough CDR, because her Athene's is almost finished, it really doesn't matter. Her risks are very, very low. She can just stay max range.
That's very interesting, because I mean, Soul Stealer for me has always been like kind of a troll item that I just like to build when I'm smurfing.
Exactly.
But I don't prefer it, even on a safe character in my rankings, just because of the sheer inconsistency of the item.
It's only a good pick on very, very safe champions like Lux, Janna, anything like that. I've seen some Janna supports. If they get an early lead, which, let's face it, shouldn't happen because it's fucking Janna. She's relatively weak early. But if you were to, let's say, have a 3-0 laning phase, or like 0-0-3 laning phase on Janna, getting that early Soul Stealer is not a bad decision, because you know you're going to get more assists, because, well, you throw a shield down every once in a while, and the AP increases your utility so much. Same thing goes for Lux. To a lesser extent, things like Nami, where they get a lot of utility scaling but are also very safe. Lulu was a strong example of it back in the day, although not so much anymore. It's just one of those things where it's a niche item, but when you're this far ahead, it would not be the worst decision by any means. Yeah, Nasus is now 4-0-2. He's got incredible amount of tankiness and is up like 20 CS. So he's definitely dominated his lane.
Oh yeah, and his siphoning strike is now at 516. It's he's an absolute monster at this point.
Yeah, and that's what it should be at this stage of the game. So that's a huge sign that he knows how to play Nasus. Oh my goodness,
Might
the
be a bit
chunks.
bad here with the thresh there. However,
Victor gets the
he's
stun
gonna
and gets the
take
ult
on
in.
quite a beating.
I don't agree with the flash forward on Victor there, but it doesn't really matter. Nice hook.
Very. Oh yeah, that was a kind of a positioning mistake on Lux in my opinion, because they were even with Nasus present, they were at a number disadvantage.
For sure. And I get that they were really trying hard to save the... Oh, don't do that, Caitlyn. So she stopped and tried to ult.
Blue team's making a lot of mistakes right now. I don't know why.
Well, throws happen in all elos, so it happens.
Yeah, no, it's just because you might have missed it, but Warwick actually altered Victor. That was caught out between his base wall and the woods. And he, you know, obviously Victor just threw out a gravity field immediately and out-traded Warwick handily.
Okay, so just taking another look at Victor's build, and I really don't want him to feel like I'm judging him, but I am a little bit. He only has the 1 Hex Core, so he's not getting much AP per level. He's also losing out on his mana. And then he's rushed a Chalice, Lichbane, and Source Boots. Looks like he's finishing up Athenes now. So he's still not going to have any AP to synergize with the Lichbane. One of the more common builds I've seen is Doran's into First Augment, into Source Boots, into Death Cap. Because he gets so much AP from his Augment that the Death Cap multiplies it. Then after the Death Cap, you have the choice of either finishing up Void Staff or Hourglass. Either a defensive or offensive item in that case. And then you finish up your second and third
kill by
Augment.
Lux. Sorry there to interrupt. I just wanted to point out the fantastic laser.
Yeah, so we see a teleport coming in from Warwick. Yeah, it just goes on to Shaco. This Shaco's had a lot of issues this game. Alright, so Victor's going to be a little bit caught out here. Warwick has his ult ready, but it doesn't matter because Lux has already landed her binding.
Yeah.
Second mistake from from Warwick though. Tries to go in. Huh. Oh, I just noticed the build. Barrel Flare Gunblade, no boots, Warwick.
Yep.
Oh my.
Good use of the gunblade though for the chase.
It was. It was good use of the gunblade, but oh my. That's all I have to say to that.
Oh, Warwick is still pulling through aggro. Ooh. Very narrow escape there. Nasus mythical here, unless Vayne can condemn. Not quite, but she might be able to get the kill. Or... Oh.
That final Q.
Yep. Janna came in just at the right time.
Back in mid, we see Caitlyn being caught out by Victor and,
Yeah.
taken out very quickly.
I just like to point out the sheer lack of grouping happening in this game. I mean, blue team has over 10k gold advantage at this point in the game, and they have yet to fight a team fight. I find that very strange.
It's also strange because they have the team fight comp. I would understand if it was purple team that was far ahead and not wanting to team fight, because they have the Nidalee or the Shaco for split push, they have the Victor for just stalling out games.
Exactly.
They have a
Right
reason
now-
not to team fight.
But blue has the power to force objectives or force team fights at this point in time, and they're just not doing it. I don't understand.
It is very, very odd. So Lux does make her great escape here, regroups with her team, and looks like they're going to try and re-engage here. Janna Tornado not quite connecting, but the Lux
Oh,
Q
yes.
alt does... Oh, she cancels her auto attack though.
The thresh shield.
No, that was actually an issue though that she canceled her auto attack. She flashed forward to auto, and then didn't use it. Someone in chat's asking about Rylai's on new Victor. It's very strong, but again, you have item slot issue. What are you replacing with?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to point out the really awkward Caitlyn ult that just happened there. I almost felt like that was a misclick.
Yeah, she ulted a full health target. It was a little odd. Victor has the second hex score. I'm so happy. Oh my god. What is it with this game? We have another Gunblade coming out from Shaco. Is this just Game of the Gunblades?
Is this real life?
Yeah. The game I played earlier where my team was raging at me for being like 0-2 or 0-3 or whatever it was versus Riven, I was building Iceborne Gauntlet Gunblade Victor. It's surprisingly effective. It's not great, but it's surprisingly effective.
I was wondering what you were gonna follow that with.
Okay, because Iceborne Gauntlet AoE slow on your Q, which also speed buffs you.
Uh-huh.
And then Gunblade gives you both Spell Vamp and Lifesteal on your auto attack. And a slow. It's not good, but it's kind of funny because you heal so much because all of your damage is converted to magic damage after your Q, so you heal up a huge chunk.
Okay. Why not just get Will of the Ancients, to be honest with you?
Because Will of the Ancients kind of sucks ass.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you get more spell vamp from the Q and
Yeah,
stuff?
you would. Oh, you would.
Well, you suck in that case. Stop hating on Will of the Ancients. As a Vlad player, I take offense to this.
But I hate Will of the Ancients so much. Lux did get Magi's. Okay, good. We can enjoy the game now. The
So,
damage going down onto Thresh.
Oh yeah.
Vayne's doing a relatively good job positioning here, though. I gotta compliment that.
Yeah, Vayne is doing a really good job of doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, although I feel that her team is not in position to protect her very well, especially if Thresh is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's just fault of the team comp, not really Vayne herself. A little late on the condemn here.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna rewind that fight because there was a couple issues I noticed there. Issue number 1. Victor's staying at very, very low health, whereas his job is to wave clear. His job is usually clear out all the minions so they can't get onto the tower. He then gets ulted. Vayne Condemn is very late. Also, Victor doesn't Q, therefore he's not able to survive. The Q might have been able to shield him long enough. Vayne is then able to stick onto Warwick. They have 4 versus 1 there. The rest of the enemy team, though, is just sort of sticking on the inhibitor. Nasus now just walking in.
Oh, interesting teleport by Nidalee, sorry. I mean, since the inhibitor's already gone... And... yeah, that actually will not be a good decision.
Alright, the slow coming in from the Caitlyn net actually locks him up long enough for Nasus to hit and then her to ult.
Flash here.
Yeah. She just really wanted the kill.
That's just greed right there. That's unfortunate, because he could have probably protected that tower for a little bit and allowed Nidalee to split push. Oh well. Very good game played by the blue team here.
Yeah, it was a good game overall. Definitely have some item concerns, so we'll go over those once the game officially ends. But I want to compliment both teams. Really good job just playing it out, even though it definitely was a bit one-sided. It's always nice to see.
Is there anything you want to comment on specifically? I mean, you've talked about Victor all game, so I'm sure you got the message at this point. Is there anybody else you would like to analyze?
Why don't you just go through builds, and then I'll add on to anything that I noticed that I might have said.
Absolutely. I'd like to go with Vayne. Actually, I would like to compliment Vayne on her play. She played a really good game against a Caitlyn, which is always a very tough thing to do. I felt that her and Thresh actually pulled through relatively well. I mean, yes, there's a pretty significant gold difference between Caitlyn and Vayne at the end game screen. However, that is not due to Vayne having necessarily less kills. I think that's just due to objectives. You know, the blue team got more dragons, more barons, more towers overall, so that's just natural. But she's not that far behind in CS at the end game point. So overall, I feel that Vayne really did a good job of, just sticking to her guns and farming as much as humanly possible to try and scale herself into the late game.
Do you agree with the
Um,
double steal on her?
I was just getting to that actually. I'm
Okay.
not a big fan of Bloodthirster on Vayne as an item. Actually, the three core items I usually go on her myself is Blade of the Ruined King into Phantom Dancer into Last Whisper, because it gives her the optimum amount of damage and penetration that she just wants to get those kills as efficiently as possible, as early as possible, basically. Double lifesteal is always just kind of awkward on more or less any ADC. I don't really see on who it would be all that efficient, except maybe, I don't know, Kog'Maw or Jinx or someone who can really utilize that power and speed at the same time.
I would actually reverse that though. If you're going that much lifesteal, it's an indication to me that you're trying to face tank damage with lifesteal.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular game, I feel as though Vayne was trying to compensate for the fact that she had very little peel from her team. In which case, I totally understand why Bloodthirster might be a very attractive option. Nothing necessarily wrong with it, just that I usually go for the Last Whisper myself. It makes your 3-shot just that much more effective, and your kill potential just skyrockets with the penetration. Also, with someone like Nasus and Warwick on their team, who both have tremendous amounts of armor, that's what you really wanted to go for. So that might have been a thing to consider. Otherwise, that's where my criticism ends with Vayne necessarily. As a few awkward plays here and there, but I mean that happens to everyone. Good play overall.
Okay, now we already commented on the weird gunblade builds. I don't understand them. Warwick actually went full on hit build with a Nashor's Tooth Feral Flare gunblade.
I love it. I, I love it.
I like you're just like, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. Don't change a thing. Okay, so first complaint, he has no boots. Like, at all.
I mean, because Warwick, aside from his, I mean, I understand that his Bloodstone has a lot of mobility tacked onto it, but there is a condition attached to it. So at the same time, on a traditionally low mobility jungler like Warwick, it's not ideal. However, he was able to utilize his ultimate to gap close really efficiently, and he actually took the gunblade instead of the boots to have that additional slow tacked onto it. So I mean, it's kind of trolly, but it worked fine.
You have okay. There's three things he could do here. Number one, to realize he has no repositioning summoner skills. He doesn't have He doesn't have ghost. He doesn't have flash. So he needs a way to get into the fight in the first place. So gunblade isn't going to help with that. So he's limited to his blood scent. So he's only then there to clean up fights. He can never initiate a fight for his team, or at least in the ideal circumstance, he's not going to be able to. So the second thing that he could have done is built boots to counter that. Or if he wanted to go a weird on-hit build like that, I would have suggested, and I know I'm going to be judged for this, but he could have gone Deathfire Grasp. And the reason behind that
You're
is
so weird.
I know.
What is that advice?
Well, no, have you seen Magewick?
Of course I've seen Magewick, but I mean, that's obviously not who he was going for a non-hit build.
Well, no, on-hit build is Magewick. So what you do is your alt each applies an on-hit effect. Like, it applies all your on-hit effects. So if you're going Nashor's Tooth, that's magic damage on hit. Your alt is magic damage, and your Q is magic damage. So you DFG and then immediately alt.
Yes.
I've seen it work. I'm not saying it's a great build. I'm just saying that if he wanted to go for this weird on-hit burst Magewick adjacent build, he might have considered going like a final item Deathfire Grasp or something like that. I'm just trying to think where he might have been going for this and maybe open up some options. I'm going to try and avoid just judging a build and saying, no, that's terrible, unless it's clearly trolling. And I'll try and think how they might be wanting to use it. And to me, this build says I'm either cleaning up fights or I want to burst people. And in that case, something like Deathfire Grasp might have been an option, or hell, even a Source Boots at that point.
On the topics of build, Nasus was really good this game. Like, played it really, really well. Those stats were insane. I'm a huge fan of Ghost Teleport myself on Nasus, so I feel as though he played to capacity. Also, instead of going for the Frozen Gauntlet, he decided to go Trinity Force as an endgame item. So because I mean, if you had it in mind to go for the Trinity Force from the get-go, I can understand why you didn't go for the Frozen Gauntlet in that case. It's just that at the very beginning of the game, Frozen Heart was a bit strange. simply because I'm a big fan of the fact that Nasus Q can stack with the AoE from Frozen Gauntlet, and it definitely helps him rank up into the endgame.
Looks like Lux was going towards Lichbane. They did buff her passives ratio, so she's more incentivized to use it in the late game. But I think Void Staff would have been a better option in the average game. There was no magic resist built versus her, so it wasn't necessarily needed this game. But once you have your Death Cap, once you have your Source Boots and your Athenes, you really need to get either Void Staff or Hourglass. Those are very, very core items on Lux, so it's something for her to consider. But we don't know where she was necessarily going. I just would not have liked to see her rush out of Lichbane at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Janna's items I like quite a bit, though. I would have liked to see Frost Queen's claim finished up, but outside that, Crucible's great, and building towards Locket, especially versus AoE damage that might come in, is a relatively good option.
Yeah, Janna played fantastically. I mean, every engage and disengage was, calculated and executed almost perfectly. So I have really few comments to say against Janna and how she played this game. I mean, I see a Michael's Crucible, and I don't recall seeing it used all that much. That being said, there isn't a whole lot of CC power on the on the enemy side anyway, so maybe there wasn't a chance for me to see it, but yeah.
Anyways, I think that's most of the comments we have here for the overall builds and playstyles. Nothing is really popping to mind besides like, okay, well, like Thresh missed some hooks. He might want to work on those. Victor
Shaco needs to be more aggressive. I mean, Shaco had a lot of lag issues, which was really unfortunate, but even through lag issues, I feel as though he was very passive, just farming all... I mean, I didn't see Shaco gank a single time by the time that Warwick hit level 6. That should never happen.
No, and we can't say really anything about the builder playstyle because there was so many lag issues. Gunblade I definitely don't recommend on him. The Lizard Elder is definitely correct. I've seen a lot of different builds on Shaco, and I don't really know which one